Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining. We're just going to give it 2 more minutes to let everybody join, and then we'll be starting shortly. Thank you so much for your patience. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, depends on where you are right now. We are so excited to have you all here today in our webinar, How to Maximize Your User Test Insights. Thank you so much for joining, everyone. We're really excited to have this webinar today. My name is Kendra. I'm the executive assistant here at Userbrain, and today joining me here is Euan. Euan is our marketing manager. So hi, Euan. Nice to have you here.
Hi, Kendra. Nice to be here.
Excited to have this webinar today. But before we start, we would love to learn a little bit more about you guys, our participants, our attendees here. So I'm going to just launch a quick question, and we'd love to know what your role is. Are you a UX designer, researcher? Are you a product manager, developer, founder? Are you in marketing, growth, or sales? Are you a graphic designer? Or do you have another role at your company? So, wow, okay, a lot of designers and researchers. That's cool, that's great. 80% almost. If you guys are a designer, good. We have some product managers or owners. We have some developers here. Some of you guys are in marketing, growth, or sales. There's some others too. Okay. Interesting. So if you are in another role, maybe you also want to drop in the chat box what your current role is. But this looks interesting. Amazing. That's so great to have you all here. So thanks for answering this question. That's really great. Before we get into our actual webinar, I would also like to introduce Userbrain as a company. So what is Userbrain? What do we do? So Userbrain is an online tool backed by 10,000, hundreds of thousands of testers that will let you know what works for your product and what doesn't. With fast, simple, and affordable user tests, we empower designers, UX experts, founders, and marketers to build products that people love to use. So for this webinar, I would like to ask another question. And the question is, what is your goal for this webinar? What would you love to learn here? So do you want to learn how to get more value from user testing? Or would you like to learn how to create a user test? Okay, good. Okay, so most of you guys want to know how to get more value from user testing. That's good to know. Some of you guys want to know how to learn how to create a user test. That's amazing. You know, I'm just going to drop into the chat box. I'm going to drop a link to the recording of our last webinar, where it talked about a little bit more of getting started into 2023 with the user tests. So if you haven't watched that one yet, you can watch that one. But please stay tuned to this webinar, because we're also going to talk about user tests and how to get the most out of it. So without further ado, Euan, please take over.
Yeah, thanks, Kendra. Sorry, I'm just sorting my screen out at the moment, actually. A little technical hiccup. but should all be good now. Yeah, thanks for coming. As Kendra was saying, the last webinar we did was last week on Tuesday, and we covered how to get started with user testing. So I did see some answers there from some of you guys who are maybe beginners and looking to get into that. What I would say is you're more than welcome to stay here. We will cover some really useful points that you'll be able to implement in your first user tests. But I think Kendra has posted the link in the, yes, she has. She's posted the YouTube link in the chat to our last webinar. So I would highly recommend watching that, because we really went back to basics last week and looked at it through fresh eyes. So just before we begin today, because today is all going to be about, it's all going to be about how you can get more from your user testing. We're going to show you some really cool ways that you can do that with Userbrain, and just some great ideas in general that you can implement straight away. But first of all, I just really want to hammer home why we do user tests. So a lot of you are UX designers or researchers, so you're in the right place. And the main thing I always say is the only way that we can know if someone really understands our product, and the only way we can know if our product is usable is if we watch real people interact with our product and we hear their thoughts. And that's why at Userbrain, we ask all of our testers just to think out loud. And also with user testing, you know, it's really the only way that you can spot these hidden UX issues. So today, that's one thing I'd like to cover as well. I'd like to go sort of behind the curtain a little bit and look at some hidden UX issues that you might not be picking up on. Because the ultimate aim is that we build products that people love to use and that we avoid costly mistakes. As I said last week, we discussed why you should start user testing in 2023. And really the main reason for that is because we have a world right now, which, if you've been following the developments with ChatGPT and everything, we have a world right now that is advancing technologically at such a fast pace that it can really be a challenge to keep up. So I think now it's more important than ever to know what's working with your site, what's not, and really just to make sure that we're not falling behind on the usability front. Also, Userbrain, with our new reports feature, we now offer more insights than ever. So we are a qualitative user testing tool, but with our reports, we now offer some quantitative metrics, such as task completion rate and time on task. You know, we're going to launch native app testing very soon. So if there's some app designers or app developers in here, then you know, stay tuned, because we'll have some really interesting info coming soon for you. And our Android testing app is about to launch as well. So it's actually a really interesting time, and we think there's a lot of value in our products right now, especially with the launch of our new starter plan, which is less than $100 a month. So there's really not so much of a barrier to entry with user testing anymore. And yeah, I think now what I would like to do is just dive into the nuts and bolts, the nitty gritty. So I'm going to share my screen. Hopefully you can see this now. Kendra, can you see that?
Yes, it's perfect.
Perfect, right. So this is the Userbrain dashboard, and it's a special treat for you today, because this is actually my Userbrain dashboard. So everyone at Userbrain, we use our own tool to test new ideas and also to create examples like what I've done for you today, but we'll get onto that in a minute. So I just wanted to take you behind the curtain of using Userbrain. So if you click here on all sessions, you can see every single session from every tester that's ever happened in the history of your account. which I find really interesting, because you can really go back through if you're making constant iterations of a product or a project. You can filter by device, and you can also filter by all the individual test sessions that you did. Yeah, that's the dashboard. And this is the example I've prepared for you today. So if you like your fast cars, then this is going to be one for you. If you don't, then I'm sorry, but it's really a great example. So please stick with us. So what I did was I ordered 12 testers on Userbrain to test Porsche, Porsche USA, the website. And yeah, this is what came back. So I filtered the results. I wanted men from the USA and with desktop devices. So that's something you can do with Userbrain. Is that you can use our demographic filters, and you can also use screening questions as well. So you can really refine your results to where you want it. Before I go any further at this point, we just want to launch another poll, because I'm really curious to find out your level with user testing, and also your level with Userbrain, because I don't know if I'm going too fast right now. So Kendra, could you just launch that poll, please? Okay, so yeah, the first question is, have you conducted user testing before? And secondly, have you used Userbrain before? Oh wow, that's great. That's actually much higher than I was expecting. So it's good to see there's some experience here. I'm really interested in these answers, these kind of, but not really. I'd be really curious to find out what you did. So if you can maybe drop that in the chat, that would be good. And also, just to reiterate as well, if you do have any questions, please ask them in the Q&A. You know, no question is a silly question, and we will get through to all of those at the end, just once I've finished showing you how to get some really deep insights. So that's great. Thank you very much. Just get rid of that. Perfect. Yeah, so now I know I've got an experienced audience, it's going to be a little bit easier, but I will try and keep it light in all the right places, just for those of you who maybe are not so familiar. So this is what Userbrain dashboard looks like. This is where all your tests come when they're finished. So I would like to show you this test that our tester Jay did here. I'm not going to play this at the moment, but I'm just going to show you the interface. So a lot of you have used Userbrain before, so you will be familiar with this, hopefully, if you have conducted the test with us. So you have a variety of options here. You know, you can download the video, you can share it. And yeah, and again, what we ask our testers to do is to think out loud. So what that allows us to do is we can write notes at different parts. So these are just what I've gone through. Now, I want to point out that my comments here are not about the tester himself or herself. My comments are more about the usability of the site. So this one, he's all over the place for reference. That's not about what I think of the tester himself or anything like that. That's more about the usability of the site and how I perceive his actions. So yeah, so I just want to walk through the tasks of what we did for this test. So just going to check, see if we can walk through it this way. Oh, so that's Jay's. He's very excited to start his test. So if we just go through here, if we can maybe get to. Okay, no worries.
Well.
Sorry.
Okay, I've completed the test.
Sorry, I will show you a different way. We will just go to edit the test here. So yeah, that's even better. So this is how you edit a test. I mean, most of you will know this because you've used Userbrain before. So yeah, the first thing I wanted to do, because it's a car website, is to describe their last purchase out loud. Just to sort of gauge their experience level. And I asked them how many times they kind of used websites like this. How often do they go on websites to look at cars or to configure cars? And then what I did here was I created a scenario, and you know, we have a great blog on our site. It's 5 tips for user test scenarios. And you know, you can create a test, and you could just say, okay, you have $100,000 to spend. You know, go and have a look and see what kind of car fits your needs. Find a family car that fits your needs from Porsche. But the thing is, what we actually want to do with our testers when we have them in this scenario is we want to create a real scenario for them that they can get their head into and really feel that they're part of. Because what you'll find is you're going to get far deeper insights into the way that people think and behave when you do this. So we asked them, imagine that you've always wanted to own a Porsche since you were a little kid. Now, if you're a fan of cars, that's probably not too hard to imagine. So we basically created a scenario that they have a family and they live a little commute away from work, and they're going to need to find something that fits their needs, but probably they're also going to be looking for something that's going to be a fun car to drive as well if they're looking for a Porsche. So that was why we picked that task. Yeah, and then we added a rating scale of how easy it was to perform that task with the Porsche website. So we got some really interesting results here, and we will dive into those in a few minutes. And then we went deeper into the scenario. So again, you can find more information on our blog post where we talk about our 5 tips for these test scenarios. But basically, just make it as holistic as possible. Try and immerse your tester into this scenario as much as possible, and try to use something that's also kind of relatable as well. So we said, you know, you found your dream car. That's great. Why don't you try and find an electric version now? Try and find a hybrid model, because we're really testing different parts of the website here, and you know, that's what it's all about at the end of the day. Yep. So then we asked again, how easy was it to do this? And what we were really interested in at this point was testing the Porsche configurator, because, you know, the thing about these configurators is that I think every car brand does them a little bit differently, but they all kind of serve the same purpose. It's kind of like the candy store that you you want your customers to go in. You want them to go in and play around and be an interior designer almost of their own car in some ways. So yeah, then after that we sent them to Audi, and that's one thing that I really recommend if you want proper usability insights. You have to give them a baseline to compare to. So don't be afraid to send your testers to a competitor. You know, sometimes we might think, oh no, our website is you know, it's not as good. You know, we don't have the budget that they do, whatever. But you know, you would be surprised. We sent these testers in this scenario from Porsche to Audi, and what we found out was quite interesting actually. And again, this was just a one-off test that we did, and it was used for an example. So I imagine if the team at Porsche did this test, they would, you know, probably come up with even more interesting results than we did, because they're the experts. So yeah, and again, we just went really deep into the scenario there. We said that, you know, your friend actually found this scenario. Sorry, your friend found this website and sent you a link because they heard that you were looking for a new car. So yeah, let's just go back here because there's some really interesting stuff. If we go to reports. So we had 12 testers. And this is where you're going to find out these hidden insights that you wouldn't find just by, you know, getting the video back, watching the video. This is our new reports section. So in the future, it will just be available for Userbrain users who are subscribed to one of our plans. But at the moment it's available to all. So even if you have a free trial, I'd really recommend checking this out, because you might be missing something that this will pick up on. So as you'll see, we have some metrics here. So the first task, that was literally just, tell me about your last car purchase. So there's nothing really interesting there. But what I was surprised about, for example, was that a lot of people sometimes view these kind of car configurator sites. So I was quite surprised, taken aback by that. So half of the people said sometimes. So actually the standard of interest here was pretty high. We have a good example here for metrics. So one of our testers was unsuccessful in completing this task. So what I would do, if I was, before I'd even watch the videos, is I would come to reports and I would see that this particular tester here has not completed the task. And then I would straight away, I would go and I would look at their video first, because I would want to see, well, what was it about it that confused them so much, or what happened, was there some technical error, whatever it might be. So you can use this as a place to start the reporting. We also have this metric here, this time on task. So you'll see for the first test here, it took 10 minutes. So that's actually quite long. So again, that's quite interesting. We can see 3 minutes here, almost 3 minutes here, 4 minutes, 7 minutes. We're getting roughly around about the same times, but then we've got this tester here and it took just over 10 minutes. So again, there's probably something in that I can then, as the admin here, I can then go in and find, well, actually, what was it that confused them, or why did they take so long? Was there an issue? So yeah, there's some really great points as well where we can visualize data here with the reports. So how easy was it to find a car that fits your needs? Very easy was the most popular. 8 respondents said that, and 3 people said it was okay, and 1 person said it was easy. So I mean, that's a very simple question, but if you're looking for the visualization of that kind of data, then you can do that in the reports here. Yep. So thankfully, I mean, props to Porsche, because all 12 of our testers here were, successful with the next task. There was no hiccups, no issues. Again, we can see someone took 7 minutes on this task. So maybe there was something there that we can dive into. So these are the little things that you need to be picking up on when you're going through the test. Yeah, and same again here. It's very easy. Props to Porsche. They've done a great job. And yeah, we have 1 unsuccessful task here. We're looking into that. And I then sent them to Audi, as I said. So not really a direct competitor. I would say Porsche is probably in slightly more of a luxury market, but maybe if you were considering getting a Porsche, Audi might be another brand that you would be looking at as well. So what we can do here is we can actually get written responses as well. So I just asked them to answer a few questions. How did your experience compare to the previous website? And what you'll notice is that you will, even after listening to the tester speak out loud and speak their thoughts for a few minutes, when they really condense those thoughts into writing, you will get something else, because it's not just the first thing that comes to mind. They've sat and they've thought about it for a few seconds, and there's a little bit more clarity there. So we get this little word diagram here, and easier was a word that came up a lot. The feel was easier. There was more or less options. So, that was something that we can look into. So we can get a gauge of what people were saying from this, and then we can dive in a little bit deeper. So there was some real mixed feedback there, which was very interesting. Now I just want to look a bit deeper into how we can select testers with Userbrain. So if I click Get Testers here, you can see my previous settings from before. As I said, I look for men from the United States of America. You can also add an age range. You can also turn all of these off if you want. And I've wanted them to use computers as well, because again, it's an example for a car configurator website. It's going to be using a computer. I just want to go into my screener question here because it was very interesting. So what I actually asked them was, instead of saying, do you own a car? Yes or no, because obviously that's going to be relevant for the test if they own a car or not, because I'm not going to ask them about their last car purchase. The following items do you own? Add a house, a car, a boat, and I think add a guitar and something else as well. Because, you know, what you're going to get then is if you only accept the people that say, oh, I have a car, then the likelihood is that you're going to get a more reliable screening question that's easy to understand for the people answering the question. So yeah, I ordered 12 testers for this test, but obviously you can order as many or as few testers as you want. And yeah, you can just place your order there once you have selected your demographics and you've added a screening question. We do have a couple of articles as well about demographics and screening questions. If you're really looking to hone in on a particular target audience, I think that the demographics are very good for that. You know, we don't go too deep, but again, you can add a screener question. So for example, if you were looking for something a bit more specific about a particular job title, or you were looking for a particular salary range or household income or something, you could ask those questions. Obviously, there's no the testers, if they're interested in tests, they don't have to answer. So you know, just keep that in mind, that you probably don't want to make it too personal, but there is the option to add screener questions there. So yeah, I think one thing I just wanted to touch on with the reports as well is that you can export the results as a CSV file at the moment, and you can export all of your notes as well from the test, the CSV file. We are looking at different ways that we can export this, perhaps as a PDF. But really, if you want to basically share this as an image, as a picture, so that your stakeholders, your colleagues, your team can access this, the best way is to just share the link to the Userbrain page, and then they'll be able to access it as well. Because that's really what reporting is about. It's about saying that, well, actually, we gave these testers this particular task to do. One of them wasn't successful. We uncovered a very problematic issue that needs to be focused on. And then you can send that to the person responsible. As we say, the reason why we implemented this was because it's all about getting the right information to the right people at the right time. It's an old cliche, but for us, I think that's really what we've tried to do with the reports feature. So yeah, I hope that gave you a good understanding of how our reporting system works. Again, you can favorite your testers here, and you can come back and look at them again. So what I would say as well is when you rate your testers as well, what you should be doing, especially if you're sharing this with a team, is don't just give the testers good feedback because they're maybe saying, oh, there's nothing wrong with this website. It's the people that are uncovering these little these little errors and issues on your site. That's the ones that you're going to be most focused on. And I think that is one of the main challenges with user testing. That it requires you to sort of leave any attachment or any ego at the door, and you need to, you know, just take a step back and focus on this as a whole. So thank you very much for your attention. What you can do now is if you haven't already tried Userbrain, you can get started with your free trial. And if you have any questions, please put them in the Q&A, and we will start answering them for you now. I think we still have a bit of time. So yeah, we'd really like to hear from you. So if anything's come to mind, if you have any questions about features that are offered, please add them to the chat and to the Q&A, and Kendra and I will try and answer as best as we can. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Euan. That was an amazing explanation. I think we all know how to get the most useful information out of our tests now. Thank you so much. But while we wait for everyone to put their questions into the QA box, remember we have two boxes. We have the chat box and the Q&A box. So if you have any questions, just put them into the Q&A box, please, and we'll answer them here. While we're waiting, I would like to also put our Calendly link for our sales executive, and he will gladly have a 30-minute meeting with you guys where he can talk about, or he can explain further how our product can be tailored to your needs. So here is the link, and please feel free to just book a meeting with him. His name is Joel, with him directly. So we do have here our first question. And the question is, are you planning to expand to any other geographies? Robert is asking, we're currently doing a lot of work in LATAM, interested in that geography more specifically. Euan, would you like to go, or?
Yeah, sure. Thanks very much for the question, Robert, as well. So one new feature that we have implemented recently is that we can now perform user tests in Spanish language, which was a big step for us. I would like to stress that we do have a lot on the roadmap for this year. The main thing is getting our Android testing app up and running, and then after that, we are focusing on allowing native app testing. But it has been discussed, and we are looking to obviously our goal is to have Userbrain available in as many geographies, as many countries, as many continents as possible. So it's something we're looking into. I can't give you anything concrete at the moment, but if you're subscribed to our newsletter, or if you follow us on LinkedIn or anything like that, then we will let you know as soon as possible.
Thank you for that answer. Joe asks, is there any way to test A/B testing designs after identifying UX or UI issues in order to see which one may work more successfully over another one?
With A/B testing, it's not quite so straightforward to do that, but what you could do, I mean, what we always encourage is sort of continuous user testing. So the example I showed you there was with 12 testers, which is quite a large test. So that's the kind of test that you would run, if you had a new product or a few new features, and you were really curious to how it would all work before perhaps you pushed it live. But with what we really recommend is smaller tests on a more consistent basis with 3 to 5 participants, and then you'll be able to get some good feedback for there. But with A/B tests in particular, it's a little bit difficult. What I would advise doing as a workaround though is creating 2 tests, and if it's two different designs, so it might be 2 different Figma prototypes or two different links. Then I would advise, again, just splitting that down the middle, having an A test and a B test, because again, we're a qualitative user testing tool. So when you get the user test back, it's all qualitative. It's all about the user's individual experience. Although we do have the time on task and the task completion rate and some other quantitative metrics too. Yeah, A/B testing is not really something that we focus on, but again, it's possible with a workaround.
Thank you. And Joe has another question too. He asks, do you plan to collaborate with any design platforms in future, for example, a plugin for Figma?
Yeah, I think that would be a really great idea. I think maybe we should get in touch with the team at Figma and see what would be possible. You know, one thing that we say is we think Userbrain is a really good option to test your Figma prototypes. You know, we're not just website based. You know, there's a lot of you know, design prototypes from Figma and others as well. And yeah, that would be something that we'd really like to do. But I guess it's just the challenge of getting in touch with the right people from Figma. But maybe let's see if we can make that happen.
Thank you, he says. That's good. You're welcome.
Yeah, thanks,
You're
Joel.
Okay, so if there are no other questions, no, okay, I'll give the word back to you, Euan.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much for attending. It was great to see you all here, and thanks to Robert and Joe for the great questions. We don't have another webinar planned in the next few weeks, but we will have an announcement coming soon. So stay tuned. You know, you can subscribe to our email newsletter, and we'll get in touch. And you know, we'll let you know when the next event's coming up. So thank you all for your attention. Thanks for answering our silly polls. And if you'd like to watch this webinar back, you know, maybe you were interrupted or you had to leave for whatever reason, it will be available on our YouTube. And again, for the beginners out there, the first webinar of the year that we did last week, that is available on YouTube for you as well. So thank you all very much for your attention, and have a good day, have a good night, depending on where you're joining from, and hope to see you soon.
Thank you so much, Euan, too, for this amazing explanation. And thank you, everybody, for joining. We'll see you in our next live webinar.